Hey everybody, welcome to your horoscopes for this week. These are the horoscopes for the week ending 5/28. We've got a mutable grand cross forming this week for the next couple of weeks, affecting all the mutable signs of Gemini, Virgo, Pisces, and Sagittarius. It's kind of a humdinger, and we're going to find out how it affects each one of you. But first, we're going to get started as we always do with Aries. Now you got some luck and money coming to you at the beginning of the week, and when you have some luck and money coming in, it really makes you want to go out there and spend that money and really enjoy it. And that's not a bad thing in itself. But at the same time, you do want to watch out a little bit, because Uranus is trying with Saturn is over. It's not helpful to you anymore, and you're stuck there for the next month or so, actually, with that square between Uranus and Pluto. Now, that square between Uranus and Pluto is going to kind of sort of show you a bit of a money pattern when it comes to overspending at the beginning of the week and leaving yourself a little bit too thin at the end of the week. Everybody has a tendency to do this, but as it's showing you this pattern, it's basically reminding you that going a little overboard is fun sometimes, and you definitely deserve to treat yourself every now and then. But at the same time, you want to be careful and make sure that you stick within your budget. What you don't want to do is have so much fun at the beginning of the week that you kind of sort of screw yourself at the end of the week. And this is what this square is trying to teach you this week. So enjoy your little bit of extra money. Of course, do something for yourself or treat yourself, but don't go so overboard that you wind up leaving yourself completely and totally dry by the end of the week, because you never know. Things come up all the time, and you may need that money. And if you do need that money, or you do find yourself needing that money, and you're looking at all that money that you spent at the beginning of the week, you don't want to be in that situation again. Everybody's in that situation. The point is to learn from that situation and don't go so overboard. So you guys have a great week with that. Taurus, Mercury moves direct this week, and we're all happy to see the Mercury retrograde go. It's been fun, but it's time to move on. And Mercury still is, of course, in that grand Earth trine with Jupiter and Pluto this week. And Mercury's direct motion is going to make that grand Earth trine a heck of a lot more helpful to you, especially around your goals and dreams. Now, this grand Earth trine is also going to teach you a couple of things about those goals and dreams, specifically what it is that you really need in order to make those particular goals of yours happen. And with Jupiter's placement in there, all you really need is you. It's about expanding how you do things with Jupiter, or changing or growing how you do things with Jupiter in terms of what you're doing. And that's what's really important in terms of success. It's not about what anybody else is doing, or if anybody else is helping you, or if anybody else is supporting you. It's about what you put into what you want to get out of those goals. Now, Pluto's position in this grand Earth trine, still in retrograde, is all about that support system over there. And Pluto is actually, that retrograde position is actually very helpful, because it may take that support away from you. What I mean by this is, you may come out and say, okay, I'm ready, let's go, I want to grab onto these goals of mine. And everybody else around you is not as excited as you are. And that does tend to put a damper on what it is that we want to do. Or everybody that's around you may think it's a kind of a crazy idea, and they're not willing to support you. The point is that this difficulty is part of this grand Earth trine for a reason. It's telling you you don't need anybody to help you out. This is your goal. This is your journey. This is your path. And nobody else needs to jump on that bandwagon with you. Yes, it is easier when you have a support system, but we as human beings have a tendency to spend so much time worrying about whether or not people are on board with what we want to do that we rarely ever get anything done. This grand Earth trine is telling you that it's time for you to get it done, even if everybody else in the world is against you. That's the lesson. It's saying do it anyways, because it's your path. It's what's resonating inside of you. and everybody else doesn't have to be on board with what you feel you need to do inside of you. So this week, it's really important to make sure you look at your priorities. What are your priorities? What are you putting in to the success of your goals and dreams? And what is not a priority? What everybody else is doing that's not affecting the successful outcome of your goals and dreams. So you guys have a great week with that. Gemini, happy birthday to all the Geminis born this week. The Sun and Venus are officially in your sign, moving into opposition with Mars and Saturn, which means that they are part of a mutable grand cross between, of course, the Sun and Venus, obviously in your sign, Mars, Saturn, Jupiter, and Neptune. Lots of planets involved in this mutable grand cross. Now, grand cross energies are very difficult aspects, and when you add all the mutable elements to it, it makes it a very chaotic, difficult aspect, unfortunately. And it seems like it's affecting every single aspect of your life. There's an element of career there, there's an element of yourself in there, there's an element of the home, and also your relationships. Not just your relationships with other people, but your relationship with yourself. These very challenging aspects are actually daring us to grow out of the norm and into something amazing. And even though that can be very challenging, any kind of growth is challenging. It's just the way that it is. Now, for you guys this week, your career goals are really going to be affected by what's going on. And it's going to seem like everything in your life, you know, your home and the people that you deal with at home, and even in some cases, your own feelings of what you can or can't achieve, are going to threaten your ability to be able to achieve these specific career goals. And these are really important career goals, by the way. I mean, Venus is... It really represents something that's really close to your heart, something that's extremely important to you. And when you find yourself feeling like that goal is threatened and you're not going to be able to achieve it, it sort of throws you in this whirlwind of chaos when it feels like you just can't handle anything that's going on in your life. And Geminis really have a hard time with this because they're so analytical. You guys tend to think and overthink and overthink again everything that's going on. And this is what's getting in the way. This is what this mutable grand cross is trying to teach you. This week, it's really important for you to pay attention and deal with the situations that you need to deal with as they come along. What we normally do as human beings is we get all upset about something, we don't want to deal with it, we try to move on to something else, then we're going to get a difficulty there, we don't want to deal with that, we move on to something else. What we're leaving behind us is a bunch of unresolved crap that is continuing to plague what's going on in here, resulting in mistakes in everything. This week, we're going to change that up a little bit for you guys. Deal with the situations that happen at home as they happen. Even if you can't resolve it completely, at least give it some sort of a resolution, enough to be able to move on to something else and be able to focus on that 100%. That's number one. Number two is, once that issue is resolved, say at home that you've been dealing with, or at least you've got something going on it for now, put it away. Put it on the back burner, stop thinking about it, and move on to your career goals. What's going to happen here is you're not going to cause all this confusion in your brain because you're trying to be like an octopus doing 10,000 things at once. A lot of Geminis do this, and they trip themselves up because of it. They wind up at the end not being able to handle anything. And this week, it's really important for you not to do that. Success is always going to come with challenges. And the bigger the challenge, the bigger the success at the end of it. So you want to make sure that you organize all of the different chaoses that are going on in your life right now so that you can always have that 100% focus on what it is that you're working on. So this week, pay attention to when your mind starts to go crazy over all the stuff that's going on. Because as soon as it does, it's up to you to tell it to hush up, resolve what you can, and really focus all of your attention on what you're working on, because that is going to lead to a successful outcome. So you guys have a great week with that. Cancer, this week you might find yourself missing somebody that you haven't talked to in a long time, but rather than picking up the phone and calling them, you tend to think about them and your mind goes to a really crazy place, a place where you start to feel like the person doesn't miss you at all, they're not thinking of you, and blah blah blah. It's just a bad place all the way around. We human beings are crazy emotional about that sort of thing. We start to miss that person, and rather than saying something or just picking up the phone and calling and saying, hey, I've been missing you, I wanted to chit chat with you, we tend to get all depressed about it and let our minds take us to these ridiculous places where maybe that person just doesn't want to speak to us anymore, kind of a thing. This week, it's time to turn that around. Rather than going to that nasty place in your mind, pick up the phone, send them a message, give them a call, say something to the person. Chances are they may be missing you too, number one, and really actually wanting to spend some time with you. Or number two, they just don't realize maybe their importance in your life. And sometimes that happens. So this week is really important for you guys to make that call and to reach out to those people that you're missing. If you truly find yourself in that position of that person really doesn't want to talk to you, well then it's not your brain freaking you out over something ridiculous that's not going to happen. But chances are it's not that way. Chances are that person would love to hang out, would love to come and see you and have just a really awesome time with you, and you are saving yourself a lot of wasted time getting overly emotional about nothing at all. And that is what it's all about this week. So you guys have a great week with that. Leo, this week some past memories may be coming up for you guys, and if they're happy memories, that's great. If they're sad memories, that can be a little difficult. And the truth is sometimes happy memories kind of sort of turn into sad memories as you're thinking of times that were really happy, but you're also focused on elements of that happiness that aren't there currently for you right now. This week, when you find yourself dealing with these memories, it's really important to understand that they're coming up to you for a reason right now. Every one of these memories gives you a specific feeling, and is generally a negative feeling. It's usually located right down here in your belly over here. You get this nasty feeling over this memory, and the reason why these things are coming up now and reminding you of this feeling is because it's teaching you that there's a root inside of you that needs to be addressed in order for you to move forward with what it is that you want to do. Now, when we talk about emotional roots, they can be really sticky. They can be really difficult. We don't generally like to play with them or deal with them or even look at them. But the longer they sit inside of us, the longer they have to become a part of us that is not helpful to us. So for instance, if I had a root inside of me of somebody that always told me that I was stupid and never going to amount to anything, everything I tried to do in my business is going to fail, because in my mind, I'm stupid and I'm never going to amount to anything, even if consciously I'm fighting or trying to fight that internal feeling or thought that's going on within me. So this week, it's really important for you guys to be brave and face these roots. Embrace them as part of you. And I know that it's kind of weird when I say to embrace that feeling, but that feeling is teaching you something. That's why you want to embrace it. It's a very important part of you, or it's going to be a very important part of you. Once you embrace it, understand where that feeling comes from, why you're holding on to it, and let it go. Once you're able to do that, you're actually helping yourself to grow out of those challenges that were given to you in the past and say, no, I am a whole male or female that is out to do the best that I can. And I'm not letting these little things that happened to me when I was young stop me from being the best that I can be right now. So you guys have a kick-ass week with that. Virgo, you guys have a very chaotic and challenging aspect forming for you guys, but on top of that, a really powerful positive aspect, which is a really big help when it comes to this mutable grand cross. As Jupiter lines up with the Sun, Venus, Saturn, and Neptune in this mutable grand cross, it is going to feel like you're standing in the middle of your career, your relationships, your home, and everything is falling apart, and they're all looking at you to fix it. And that is a very pain in the rear place to be. But the good news is that as Jupiter moves or continues that grand Earth trine with Mercury, which is now direct, and Pluto, even though Pluto is retrograde, it's still going to be very helpful to you. Now, as the mutable grand cross is making it seem like everything is kind of falling apart and everybody's looking at you to fix it, this grand Earth trine is actually bringing you a little bit of patience, helping you understand that people are not going to change just because you want them to, okay? This is one of the number one things that human beings have a hard time with. And I get this all the time. I hear my clients telling me, well, these people should have known to do this. Who are we to say that they should have known to do anything? If you don't tell them what they should be doing, how are they going to know how to react? The other thing is that people don't react in the same way that you do. We're not all the same. There's a reason for that. If we were all the same, life would get pretty boring. The truth is, it's time for you to stand in your own power and use those words that, and this is what Mercury's all about in this, use those words, those power words, to get what it is that you want and rise above all of this chaos around you. The truth is, with everybody falling apart around you, you don't need to be sucked into that mess yourself. You are powerful and you can rise above all that stuff. So this week, it's time to step into your power. Use your power words, which means no complaining, no sarcasm, no feeling sorry for myself. Any kind of communication like that is putting you back in that chaos. You want to rise above that, and you want to be more powerful than all of that chaotic mess. So you guys have a great week with that. Libra, if your thoughts happen to be slipping back to a simpler time, or maybe in some cases your actions are slipping back into a simpler time, well, then there's a reason for that. Of course, when I'm talking about a simpler time, I am talking about childhood. And with children, and when we were children, we probably don't remember when we were children, but if you look at children now, you can see that children have an amazing outlook on life. They literally have this the sky's the limit outlook on everything. It's not as cut and dry and black and white as it seems to be in adulthood. And if you're going through this right now, or just simply feeling the need to have that simpler time, there is a reason for it. Going back to something that is simple actually helps you to reprogram your mind back into that childhood mindset. You're not only looking at something in a simpler, easier way, but you're also de-stressing yourself from all the things that you need to do. And you know, those adult responsibilities really start to pile up, and they really start to feel like a great big heavy bag that's sitting on top of you, suffocating. When you take a step out of that and you go back to something simple like building blocks or Legos or something like that, not only are you giving yourself a break, a much needed break from all of that responsibility that you have as an adult, but you're also at the same time clearing your mind so that you can refocus on one thing at a time rather than all of that stuff that's going on around you. And you never know, you also might find that spark, that thing inside of you that said, hey, remember me? Remember when we thought that anything was possible and the sky's the limit? You know what? Sometimes as adults, we need to reconnect with that because life gets too serious and we forget that at one time we knew how to see things as being possible no matter what they were. So this week, really enjoy that kid time. Regardless of how you use that kid time, or regardless of what part of your childhood comes up for you, it's an enjoyment it's a time for you to enjoy being a kid, but it's also time for you to enjoy some time to you, because it's definitely going to help eliminate some of that stress for you. And you guys need that from time to time. So you guys have a great week with that. Scorpio, Mars in retrograde, of course, and the dark moon are in your sign this week. And with both of these in opposition with Mars and Venus, it may seem like your thoughts are projecting out even more fears and frustrations when it comes to your goals around your career. Now, if you feel, and this is usually what happens with most people, and Scorpios, when they love what they do, get very emotionally attached to it, which is a beautiful thing, you know, to put everything that you have into what it is that you're doing. The problem with that, though, is that you get so emotionally attached to it that any little tiny thing that might be something that's wrong is going to throw you into this chaotic mindset where you feel like that one little thing is going to turn into another little thing, and pretty soon, before you know it, the whole thing blows up and it looks like the Tower card in a tarot deck. We don't want to go there this week. This is your mind projecting that out. You're not on a crash course towards that Tower card, if that makes sense. But that little thing that's happened that might be a little bit of an obstacle or a little bit of a wrench in your plans is normal. Nobody is going to say, okay, I'm going to do this as a career, and you just get to do whatever you want, and it's easy for you, and there's no challenge and there's no obstacles. It doesn't work that way. You have to be prepared to face the challenges. And when you're prepared to face the challenges, you're not going to go crazy in your head thinking, this is it, I'm not supposed to do this, I guess I should stop. We don't want to do that. That's not successful. You want to look at that challenge in the face and go, okay, now you teach me how to overcome you. What do I have to learn in this challenge? And once it gives you that lesson, you have to be brave enough to learn it and overcome it. These challenges are preparing you for greatness, and you have to keep looking at it that way. Because the truth is, the more we look at it as just something to get in our way to piss us off, the more power we're giving away to the challenge, and we don't want to do that. So you guys have a great week this week. Sagittarius, as Saturn loses his trine with Uranus this week, he moves into opposition of the Sun and Venus, creating a mutable grand cross between himself, the Sun, Venus, Jupiter, and Neptune. Mutable grand crosses are very, very, very challenging, especially when they're all in the mutable signs, because mutable signs move around a lot. You know, you guys are Sagittarians, so you understand. You can't sit still for 5 minutes, right? All the mutable signs are kind of sort of like this. And when you have planets lining up in all 4 of the mutable signs in a negative way like this, it causes this craziness and this chaos and all kinds of different stuff. And the energy behind it is really, really frustrating. Now, for you guys this week, this mutable grand cross is going to make you feel like you're kind of stuck at home with your home responsibilities, when you'd like to have some career goals and you'd like to take care of some relationship issues, and hey, maybe you'd just like to do something that you want to do for once. That would be nice, right? But you're stuck. You're stuck at home dealing with these responsibilities that you have to deal with at home, and then it puts you in this it sucks to be me kind of mindset because I can't do what I want to do. Well, let me tell you what this challenge is teaching you guys this week. Do you know how many people actually take on extra responsibilities? I know this sounds crazy, okay? But take on extra responsibilities they don't need to take on in order to use them as an excuse not to move forward? As human beings, we do this all the time. And this is what this challenge is trying to teach you this week. Look into the responsibilities that you're taking on that don't belong to you. And don't come up with an excuse as to why they have to be a responsibility for you. There's a lot of things. Of course, if you're a parent, your kids are going to be your responsibility. That's a given, right? And you have responsibilities to your spouse. But you have limited responsibilities to your spouse at the same time. You don't have to do absolutely everything for them. It's okay. They may actually be okay with you not doing as much laundry or sharing that laundry load so that you can go and search out the career that you want. The point is that it's in here. When we say, I have to do all of these different things, it doesn't always mean that you have to be the one to do them. It's possible there's somebody else that can do them, or it's possible that they don't need to be done, period. So this week, pay attention to what responsibilities you're actually using as an excuse. And the reason why you're using them as an excuse is because you don't have to be successful. You've got all this other stuff to do. What you're doing is you're setting yourself up for being upset for the rest of your life, because you will never get the chance to see what you can do when it comes to those goals that you really, or those things that you really want to do. So you guys have a great week with that this week. Capricorn, while Pluto's square with Uranus does provide a bit of a financial difficulty this week, especially when the moon comes in to join that aspect at the beginning of the week on Tuesday and Wednesday, she's also joining Pluto's grand Earth trine with Mercury and Jupiter, as well as Pluto's grand sextile with Mercury and Neptune. And these are both fantastic, beautiful aspects that are reminding you that when it comes to achieving your goals and doing what it is that you're meant to do, money isn't everything. There's so many different things that go into the achievement of goals. Of course, we need to buy supplies and we need to make investments in our projects. I mean, that's a given. We all have to do that. And that's usually the number one thing that stops us when we don't have the money on hand. But this week for you guys, these planets are coming together to remind you that it's not just about the money. It's about the people that come in and help you out. And of course, you're going to have that support with Neptune bringing those relationships into it. It's also about the work that you put into it, which is what Jupiter is really saying in this particular aspect. Now, most of the time, we tend to look at the money situation and go, gosh, I wish I won the lottery so that I could do this, right? That's never going to happen, by the way. Okay, it might happen, but, the chances of it are very small. You probably have a better chance of getting hit by lightning, and, we don't want to do that, right? It is all about the work that you put into it, and the money isn't the most important part. As you need the funds, they'll come in, but you're building this goal for, one brick at a time, not trying to build the whole house at once. So this week, don't spend so much time worrying about the money. Pay attention more to the details. What it is that you're doing, what it is that you can get help with, how you can communicate, professionally and powerfully in order to allow the money to come to you that you need in order to achieve these goals. The bottom line here is, if you're having a challenge with money, that is the last thing that should stop you from getting what you want. So you guys have a great week with that. Aquarius, it's time to get down to work when it comes to what you need to do on a daily basis in order to achieve what you want. And when the moon comes into your sign this week and she lines up with the sun and Saturn, she is showing you just how easy it can be to achieve those goals, especially in the home and career. Organization is not always the Aquarian's strongest point, but even more so than that is asking for help, which is what the moon square with Mercury is really all about. Aquarians have a tendency to believe that they're a one-man band, basically, and that they can do everything. And unfortunately, that is an unfortunate cocktail for failure from the beginning. Anything wonderful is done by a group of people. It always is, because they bring in different elements to make it what it is. Whereas Aquarians have a tendency to think that they are just so powerful or something. I don't know what it is exactly, and I'm an Aquarian myself. I still haven't figured it out, that we don't need the help. And asking for help is kind of a weakness. Well, this week, this is what that square is trying to teach you guys. If you need the help, it's time to ask for the help. And know that asking for help doesn't mean that you can't do it. It means that you're smart enough to ask somebody to come in and help you out with something that either you don't understand and is going to take up too much of your time to figure it out, or you're asking for help with something because you're overwhelmed, and that is okay. Asking for help is not a big deal. I mean, think about this. If somebody asked you for help, you would do it in a heartbeat, and you love being able to be of service to others. Well, this week, it's time for you to get that reciprocation back. When you give, it's great, but you have to be able to receive too. Otherwise, there is no balance, and you have to have a balance between the two. So this week, dare to ask for help and receive that help and see just how much more awesome things are going to turn out when you're not trying to juggle it all on your own. So you guys have a great week with that. And finally, Pisces, as Neptune lines up in that mutable grand cross with Saturn, Jupiter, the Sun, and Venus, it's going to feel like it's a you against the world, as all of your important relationships in your life seem to be out of balance. And we're talking about your personal relationships, your professional relationships. You know, when you're in that situation and it feels like you're talking and you just can't seem to get across what it is that you want to get across to anybody because they're just not understanding what it is that you're saying. Now, the good news is that as Neptune lines up in a grand sextile with Mercury and Pluto, they're reminding you about how you're communicating. That type of communication is important. Now, all Pisces are very passionate about what they're communicating. And a lot of the time, you can feel how they feel through that communication. Now, this is an awesome thing when a Pisces is excited about something, because everybody feels that excitement. But it's not so great when a Pisces is frustrated, because everybody feels that frustration. And everybody reacts to either one in their own way. Chances are, with that excited communication, everybody's going to get excited. With that frustrated communication, everybody around you is going to have a tendency to either feel like you're bringing them down, or they're going to get defensive because they feel like you're attacking them. This communication thing is really important. This week, it's time to put your heart in your words. When you feel like it's you against the world, you have to communicate that in a non-aggressive way in order to bring that balance back into your relationships. And when I say using passionate communication, we're talking about heart-centered, passionate communication. This is why I feel the way that I do. It doesn't mean you have to sit down and talk about your feelings necessarily, but rather than allowing your emotions to communicate for you and create even more of a mess than is happening right now, you want to step away from the chaos for just a moment, regroup, and when you come back to communicate, you're only communicating what you need to communicate, how you feel at that moment, why this is so important to you right now, in order for those around you to understand where you're coming from. If you don't do that, how are they supposed to understand? You have to be able to give them, at least be able to give them an opportunity to understand. And then if they still don't understand, that's okay. But the point is that your communication has to be from the heart, and it has to be straight to the point so that people understand where you're coming from and gives you the opportunity to understand where they're coming from. So you guys have a great week with that. Thank you so much for watching the horoscopes this week. I'm Melissa Bruce, the Heavy Metal Psychic. Of course, check out the links that we got on the page. We got some more fun stuff coming up for you guys soon, but it's not ready yet. It's in the cauldron, bubbling away. As soon as it's ready, though, you guys will be the first to find out. Again, I'm Melissa Bruce, Heavy Metal Psychic. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next week. Have a great week, everybody.